Hello and welcome back to Russ's Movie Corner. My name is Russ, and as you can see, I am sitting in front of my movie corner. I have my Guardian the Galaxy t-shirt on, my Son of God movie right next to me, and judging by the frame around me, we are back, taking down another atheist. Today, back on the chopping block is Flying Spaghetti Auditor and his video, That One Time God Was Down with Child Sacrifice, Jephthah's daughter from Judges 11. In the first part of this series, we looked at kind of the story of Jephthah and what he did, and Flying Spaghetti Auditor here was trying to say that Jephthah was trying to strike a deal with God, when actually I was saying that no, he wasn't actually striking a deal with God. What he was asking God was, if you will deliver something, if you will do something, i.e., if you deliver the Ammonites into my hand, then I will sacrifice the first thing that comes out of your door. This was something that Jephthah did, not God said. Like, this wasn't a quid pro quo thing. Okay, let's put it that way. So this isn't like Jephthah going, "Oh God, please, what will you do for me? You know, will you please deliver the Ammonites into my hands?" And then God going, "Only if you sacrifice the first thing that walks out of your door, Jephthah." That's not what's going on here. This is Jephthah actually saying, like, if you do this for me, God, then I'll do this for you. Okay, this is Jephthah making a vow, not God saying, in return, what you're going to do for me is blank. Okay, because, for instance, there is that one time in Genesis where God did actually tell Abraham to go sacrifice his son on Mount Moriah. Okay? We looked at that in the last part. And what did he do? As soon as he started to get his son ready and he had the knife in his hand, the Lord said, "Abraham, stop. Stop what you're doing. You proved yourself." He said, "Untie your son." And then he looked over, and there was a ram caught in a thicket. And he says, "Sacrifice that ram to me, not your son. I just wanted to prove that your faith was enough that you would do what I say no matter what." Okay? Which is why he felt compelled, when it came to Sodom and Gomorrah, to say, "Lord, I get what you're doing here, but, you know, is this really real? Are we doing this? Okay, what if there's 50 righteous people, 40 righteous people, 30 righteous people, 10 righteous people?" Okay, that's kind of what that was, okay? But again, that wasn't a negotiation. God told Abraham to test his faith. Go sacrifice your child. Your only son, whom you love, go sacrifice him on Mount Moriah. Now, who else do we know that was the only son of someone who was sacrificed on Mount Moriah? Oh, that's right, Jesus Christ was. Oops. Looks like somebody doesn't know the Bible. So let's jump back into what Flying Spaghetti Auditor is trying to say here, and then we'll jump back in when the time is right.
Now, it's not uncommon that this God can be negotiated with. And that happens all the time in the Bible. Abraham convinces God not to commit genocide on Sodom.
No, we actually just mentioned that. What he does is he says, "I understand that there's a lot of people down there, Lord, and I understand that a lot of them are sinning against you, but what if there's 50 righteous people in that town? Are you going to destroy it for the sake of 50 righteous people?" And he says, "No, I won't destroy it for their sake. If it please the Lord, 40. What about 40? Come on now. If you're going to do it for 50, you could do it for 40. He said, "Sure." And he got it down to 10. He still destroyed it, you moron! Because there weren't even 10 righteous people in the whole of Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, I'm sorry, did you not read the story? You clearly have it on the screen above my head, but you haven't read the story. Abraham wasn't negotiating with God to save a bunch of unrepentant sinners. He was asking, what if there are people down there that are living there that are righteous, that love you, that care about you, that are righteous people? God already knew the answer, you moron. Guess what that answer was? There weren't any. But for the sake of Abraham, God was like, yes, if there are, I won't destroy them. But there wasn't. In case you didn't know. Which, obviously, you don't because you've never read the Bible, son. Okay? At least, not in the way that it's supposed to be. You're reading into it what you want because you think that somehow Jephthah and God are having this quid pro quo conversation here. And so you're thinking back to what Lot went down to Sodom, and Abraham was basically saying, look, I don't want you to destroy the place because my nephew's down there. And so he was asking, if there's people down there like Lot who are righteous, would you destroy him because of that? Did God save Lot? Yes. He did. He literally sent Lot out of the city. Okay? He even sent Lot out to go grab the men that were, the two angels that were there, sent Lot out to go grab the men that were pledged to his daughters. They didn't want to leave. Even after he told them, the Lord is going to destroy this place. They're like, yeah, right. Screw you. Get out of here. Really? Did you miss that part of the story too? Obviously you did. This is the problem with atheism. Okay? This right here is the problem with atheism. What he's doing is exactly what every single atheist does. They cherry pick and then they read into it. Okay? They read into it what they want to read into it. So, in Flying Spaghetti Auditor's mind, he's sitting there going, oh, see, this was just like that time when Abraham was negotiating with the Lord to save, the city of Sodom. Was the city of Sodom saved? No. Did God know that? Yes. Duh. He was humoring Abraham. Okay? He knew what Abraham was going to ask. He could have just, God could have said, I know what you're going to say, son. I do. And you know what? It's fine. Your nephew will be safe. He will get out before it is destroyed, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay? And yeah, if there were more righteous people in there, I would definitely spare the cities. But they're not. They are unrepentant sinners, and they deserve the punishment that they're getting. God could easily say that. And he'd have every right to say that. Because he's God. He's holy. He's righteous. He's just. He is also loving. But he cannot abide sin, son. That's the point. If Jephthah hadn't opened his stupid mouth, because other people have prayed the same prayer that Jephthah prayed. Oh Lord, tell us if we're to go attack the Ammonites, the Amorites, the Amalekites, the Hittites, the Hivites, whoever-ites in the Bible. Let us know if we're to go attack these people and you're going to give them into our hand. And 9 times out of 10, God says, yes, go. There is the occasion where God says, don't do that, because it's not time yet. And what do? They run into battle anyway. And they end up getting beat. Because the Lord isn't with them, you absolute freaking moron. Jephthah didn't have to make this vow. He didn't. This is Jephthah's fault. No one on earth but Jephthah made this vow. Read the damn Bible, son. You'll find out that Jephthah was the only one, Old Testament, New Testament, that came at God and said, look, if I do this, I will sacrifice whatever comes out of my door first. And as explained in the last part, Jephthah could have sent a runner. As soon as the battle was over, before he started back home, he could have sent a runner to his house. Okay? Telling his daughter, telling his wife, telling his servants, don't be the first one out of the door. I made a vow to the Lord. Okay? So don't be the first one out of the door. Push a goat out if you want. Push a ram out if you want. Push something out if you want. But don't be the first ones out because I made this vow to the Lord. Did he do that? No. He had every opportunity to do that. No. He just happily went back home and his daughter comes out thinking, woo, he won. Woo, he's amazing. And he's going, oh, damn it. I did say that, didn't I? I did say that. Now, again, for the entire 2 months, okay, that she went up into the mountains, okay, he could have pled to the Lord, Lord, I made a mistake. I sinned. Kill me instead of my daughter. Allow me to be the burnt sacrifice instead of my daughter. Allow my daughter to continue. Allow her to get married. Allow her to have kids. Allow her to have a full life ahead of her. Did he do that? No. He accepted his fate because he made the promise to the Lord. It wasn't the other way around, son. And that is something that you need to understand, Flying Spaghetti Auditor. That this is no one's fault but Jephthah's. It's not God's fault. Stop pointing the finger in the wrong spot. Point the finger at the man who made the vow. And it wasn't God who made that vow. It wasn't like Jephthah said, oh Lord, please deliver the Ammonites into my hand. And then God comes down and says, only if you sacrifice whatever comes out of your door first to me. I think he probably would have said, get somebody else then, Lord. So I only have one daughter and I don't want my spouse to die. So, yeah, I'm not going to war. Thanks. He didn't do that. God didn't do that, son. This was all Jephthah. Okay? Right here, verse 30 of Judges 11. And Jephthah made a vow to the Lord and said, if you will give the Ammonites into my hand, 31, then whatever comes out from the doors of my house to meet me when I return in peace from the Ammonites shall be the Lord's, and I will offer it up for a burnt offering. Notice that language there. I will offer it up as a burnt offering. Not the Lord saying, you will offer up to me a burnt offering of the first thing that comes out of your door. Don't you think language is important here? Because it seems to me that the Flying Spaghetti Auditor doesn't really understand language. Because in his mind, he sees that vow that Jephthah makes and automatically thinks, oh, see, the Lord made him do that. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Because, like I said, there are plenty of other places, okay, where the people say, if you deliver these people into my hand, okay, I will give you praise, Lord, and I will do what you tell me to do. Okay? Now, let's hang on a second here. There was one story, and I'm trying to remember. There was one story that's pretty well known. Basically, here it is. 1 Samuel 14. Okay. To say this up, okay. Saul is anointed king, okay, in 1 Samuel 10, okay. Then he is proclaimed king in 10:17, and then in chapter 11 he defeats the Ammonites, okay. And then Samuel, the man who anointed him king, passes away. So he gives a farewell address in chapter 12. In chapter 13, Saul fights with the Philistines. And then, because Samuel was sick and he was dying, okay, he was late to do the sacrificing for Israel. So Saul goes in and does that on his own. And the Lord rejects him because of this. Okay? Now, then the Philistines come out and start rattling their sabers. We're going to kill you all. Okay? Saul's son Jonathan decides, I'm going to go over there and show these Philistines a what for. Okay? It says, one day Jonathan, the son of Saul, said to the young man who carried his armor, Come, let us go to the Philistine garrison on the other side. But he did not tell his father. Saul was staying in the outskirts of Gibeah, in the pomegranate cave at Migron. The people who were with him were about 600 men, including Ahijah, the son of Ahitub, Ichabod's brother, son of Phinehas, son of Eli, the priest of the Lord in Shiloh, wearing an ephod. And the people did not know that Jonathan had gone. Within the passes by which Jonathan sought to go over to the Philistine garrison, there was a rocky crag on one side and a rocky crag on the other side. The name of the one was Bozez, and the name of the other Seneh. The one crag rose on the north in front of Michmash, and the other on the south in front of Geba. Jonathan said to the young man who carried his armor, Come, let us go into the garrisons of these uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for nothing can hinder the Lord from saving by many or by few. And the armor-bearer said to him, Do all that is in your heart. Do as you wish. Behold, I am with you, heart and soul. Then Jonathan said, wait for it, Behold, we will cross over to the men. We will show ourselves to them. If they say to us, Wait, we will come to you. Then we will stand still in our place, and we will not go up to them. But if they say, Come up to us, then we will go up, for the Lord has given them into our hand. And this shall be the sign to us. So both of them showed themselves to the garrison of the Philistines. And the Philistines said, Look, Hebrews are coming out of the holes where they have hidden themselves. And the men of the garrison hailed Jonathan and his armor-bearer and said, Come up to us, and we will show you a thing. And Jonathan said to his armor-bearer, Come up after me, for the Lord has given them into the hand of Israel. Then Jonathan climbed up on his hands and feet, and his armor-bearer after him. And they fell before Jonathan and his armor-bearer, killed them after him. And that first strike, which Jonathan and his armor-bearer made, killed about 20 men, as if it were half a furrow's length in an acre of land. And there was a panic in the camp, in the field, and among all the people. The garrison and even the raiders trembled, and the earth quaked, and it became a very great panic. And then, of course, they go and they kick it. Okay? That's the point, son. Okay? Flying Spaghetti Auditor. Jonathan didn't go up and say, Oh Lord, because his armor-bearer was like, dude, whatever's in your heart, that's the Lord speaking to you. And he goes, well, let's wait. If they come down, if they say, let's go down to them, we'll stay here because we know that we're not going to beat them. But if they say, come up to us, then we know that the Lord has given them into our hands. Did he make a vow? Did he say, oh Lord, if you deliver these uncircumcised Philistines into my hands, oh, I will sacrifice my armor bearer right here, right now? Did he say that? No. Jephthah made a mistake, son.
For a few hours. And Moses has to constantly remind God about his promise to not commit genocide on the Israelite.
After he actually did start committing genocide on the people? Did you fail to read that part? I mean, okay, let us go back to Exodus. Since you seem so keen to think that you're better than God, let's go back and actually read the story there. Okay? When the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people gathered themselves together to Aaron and said to him, up, make us gods who shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, notice it wasn't God, it was Moses, right? They're saying that Moses brought them out. Who brought them out of the land of Egypt? God. Okay? We do not know what has become of him. So Aaron said to them, this is verse 2, so Aaron said to them, take off the rings of gold that are in your ears, and your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people took off all the rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand and fashioned with it a graving tool and made a golden calf. And they said, these are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. When Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord. And they rose up early on the next day and offered burnt offerings and brought peace offerings. And the people sat down to eat, drink, and rose up to play. And the Lord said to Moses, this is verse 7, okay, we're 2 verses before he starts. This is verse 7. And the Lord said to Moses, go down, for your people, whom you have brought up out of the land of Egypt, have corrupted themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way that I commanded them. They have made for themselves a golden calf and have worshipped it. Oh, what was that, 12 verses earlier, or 12 chapters earlier in this book? What did God say? And God spoke all these words, saying, this is Exodus 20, starting in verse 1. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. Oh, I'm sorry, what were you lying? You shall not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the 3rd and the 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. Oh. So that means that this guy is literally violating the 2nd commandment. You shall not make any carved image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. By literally his shirt saying Flying Spaghetti Monster, his channel called Flying Spaghetti Auditor, because he is trying to worship that image. He's violating that commandment. Okay? Now, back to the story at hand. Okay? Starting in verse 12. Why should the Egyptians say, with evil intent did he bring them out, to kill them in the mountains and to consume them from the face of the earth? Wasn't that. Verse 8. They have turned aside quickly out of the way that I have commanded them. They have made for themselves a golden calf, and have worshipped it and sacrificed to it, and said, These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord said to Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now therefore let me alone, that my wrath may burn hot against them, and I may consume them, in order that I may make a great nation of you. So what did the Lord just promise Moses he was going to do? Burn them up, right? They're literally worshiping a carved image against what God told them 12 chapters before. You'd have to be some kind of a moron not to understand that. And yes, he is. But Moses implored the Lord his God, and said, O Lord, why does your wrath burn hot against your people, whom you have brought out of the land of Egypt with great power and with a mighty hand? Why should the Egyptians say, With evil intent did he bring them out, to kill them in the mountains, and to consume them from the face of the earth? Turn from your burning anger, and relent from this disaster against your people. Remember Abraham, Isaac, and Israel your servants, to whom you swore by your own self, and said to them, I will multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and all this land I have promised, I will give to your offspring, and they shall inherit it forever. And the Lord relented from the disaster that he had spoken of bringing on his people. But they punish him anyway. And this isn't the first time. Well, this is the first time. But this isn't the last time that the Lord punishes the people for following carven images, man. Lest we forget. Okay? If we go to Numbers, literally, okay? Let me see here. It was... But the so Numbers 11, starting verse 21. Then a wind from the Lord sprang up, and it brought quail from the sea, and let them fall beside the camp, about a day's journey on this side, and a day's journey on the other side around the camp, and about 2 cubits above the ground. And all the people rose that day, and all night, and all the next day, and gathered the quail. Those who gathered least gathered 10 homers. And they spread out for themselves around the camp, while the meat was yet between their teeth. Before it was consumed, the anger of the Lord was kindled against the people, and the Lord struck down the people with a very great plague. Therefore the name of the place was called Kibroth Hattaavah, because there they buried the people who had the craving. From Kibroth Hattaavah the people journeyed to Hazeroth, and they remained at Hazeroth. The Lord killed a lot of the people of Israel. Okay? Lest we forget, in a chapter later, in 13, is when they send in the 12 spies, one from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. And they send them into the land of Canaan. They said, don't go in there, don't steal anything, just go in, just kind of scout out the land, just kind of see it. They come back, and the guys are like, oh, it's so beautiful, man. It is a land flowing with milk and honey. Oh, it's going to be so good. But, man, these people are giants. Joshua and Caleb, by the way, were the only two that were like, yeah, let's take the fight to them. And the rest of the people were going, they're giants, we're all going to die. So then in 14, okay, it says, Then all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. All the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The whole congregation said to them, Would that we had died in the land of Egypt, Or would that we had died in this wilderness? Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? Our wives and our little ones will become prey. Would it not be better for us just to go back to Egypt? They said to one another, let us choose a leader and go back to Egypt. So then, okay, like, Moses gets down and is like, dude, you have to understand. Like, we can't go back. Because the Lord was going to give us this land. And if he says he's going to give us this land, we will get the land. Okay? Then in verse 9. Only do not rebel against the Lord, and do not fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their protection is removed from them, and the Lord is with us, do not fear them. Then all the congregation said to stone them with stones. The glory of the Lord appeared at the tent of meeting to all the people of Israel. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will this people despise me? And how long will they not believe in me? In spite of all the signs that I have done among them, I will strike them with a pestilence and disinherit them, and I will make you a nation greater and mightier than they. But Moses said to the Lord, then the Egyptians will hear of it, for you brought up this people in your might from among them, and they will tell the inhabitants of this land. They have heard of you, O Lord, and are in the midst of this people. For you, O Lord, are seen face to face. Your cloud stands over them, and you go before them in a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. Now, if you kill this people as one man, the nations who have heard your fame will say, it is because the Lord is not able to bring this people into the land that he swore to give to them, that he has killed them in the wilderness. And now, please, let the power of the Lord be great, as you have promised, saying, the Lord is slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love, forgiving iniquity and transgression, but he will by no means clear the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation. Please pardon the iniquity of this people, according to the greatness of your steadfast love, just as you have forgiven the people from Egypt until now. Then the Lord said, I have pardoned according to your word, but truly as I live, and as all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord, none of the men who have seen my glory and my signs that I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and yet have put me to the test these 10 times, have not obeyed my voice, shall see the land that I swore to give to their fathers. And that's basically what he does. He sends them out into the thing. And then, at that point, they went out to battle and they got defeated because the Lord pulled away from them. Okay? And that's the point. Okay? Now, a couple chapters later, in chapter 16, a priest named Korah rebels against Moses and Aaron. He basically walks up and says, I can be a better leader and a better priest than you, Moses. You couldn't even get us into the promised land. Har, har, har. Okay? And so basically, Korah comes up with 250 chiefs of the congregation. They assembled themselves together against Moses and against Aaron, and they said to them, you have gone too far, for all in the congregation are holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord? When Moses heard it, he fell on his face, and he said to Korah and all his company, in the morning the Lord will show who is his and who is holy, and will bring him near to him. The one whom he chooses, he will bring near to him. Do this. Take censers, Korah and all his company, put fire in them, and put incense on them before the Lord tomorrow. And the man whom the Lord chooses shall be the Holy One. You have gone too far, sons of Levi. And Moses said to Korah, hear now, you sons of Levi, it is too small a thing for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the congregation of Israel to bring you near to himself, to do service in the tabernacle of the Lord, and to stand before the congregation to minister to them. And that has brought you near to him, and all your brothers, the sons of Levi, with you. And would you seek the priesthood also? Therefore it is against the Lord that you and all your company have gathered together. What is Aaron that you grumble against him? So then basically what happens is that Moses says, look, here's what's going to happen tomorrow. Okay? He says, everybody get away from the tents of Korah and his family. Okay? For tomorrow, he goes, look, if he were just to die of a heart attack, somebody could say that, he was poisoned or something happened to him, but if the earth opens up and swallows his tents. That's something new, and that's something that the Lord is going to do for him. Okay? So, everybody get away from him, because you'll see tomorrow morning that's what's going to happen. And then, literally, that's what happens. Okay? And basically what ends up happening is that then says, as soon as he had finished speaking all these words, the ground under them split apart, and the earth opened his mouth and swallowed. This is verses 31 through 35. Starting in 32. And then the earth opened its mouth and swallowed them up with their households and all the people who belonged to Korah and all their goods. So they and all that belonged to them went down alive to Sheol, and the earth closed over them and they perished from the midst of the assembly, and all Israel who were around them fled at their cry. For they said, lest the earth swallow us up, and fire came out of the Lord and consumed the 250 men offering the incense. Oh, I'm sorry, what were you lying there, Flying Spaghetti Auditor? And the thing is that because the people had tried to follow Korah, okay, the Lord started burning them up. And basically, Moses says, Aaron, go. He doesn't even turn to the Lord and say, Lord, turn away your wrath. He turns to Aaron and he says, look, grab your censer, put the coals and the incense in it, run out to the congregation of Israel and wave it in front of them. And that will stay the Lord's wrath. And he does that, and it does. Okay? Starting in verse 46, it says, and Moses said to Aaron, take your censer and put fire on it from off the altar, and lay incense on it, and carry it quickly to the congregation, and make atonement for them, for wrath has gone out from the Lord, the plague has begun. So Aaron took it as Moses said, and ran into the midst of the assembly, and behold, the plague had already begun among the people. And he put on the incense and made atonement for the people. And he stood between the dead and the living, and the plague was stopped. Now those who died in the plague were 14,700, beside those who died in the affair of Korah. And Aaron returned to Moses at the entrance of the tent of meeting when the plague was stopped. Oh, I'm sorry, what were you lying again? Dude, This is not a story that you turn to as, oh, see, this is something that people did all the time. Yeah, Moses did it. But show me another judge that made a vow like Jephthah's to God. Hint, you won't find one, son. Which is why you're going back to Moses to try to make it seem like, oh, see, Moses did this, huh? He made an intercession for the people. Yes, he did. Because God is a righteous God. And when he is angry, he has every right to destroy the people. Even if they're his chosen people. He has a right to destroy them. If they're not following his damn commands. Duh. It's like, come on, dude. The Lord's ways are not our ways. Okay? Don't think you wouldn't act like that if you were an omnipotent being and you told people exactly how to act and they acted in the exact opposite way. You told them, don't make an image and don't worship said image. And guess what? They make an image and they start worshiping it. Wouldn't you be a little pissed? Okay? Because you just told them. Literally like 40 days before. Don't do that. They knew not to do that. Are you stupid? This is idiocy of the highest order from a man who is literally breaking the second commandment to the Lord, trying to lecture us Christians on what is moral. Right. You hypocrite.
Now, usually it's a human trying to persuade God to not commit genocide.
Yeah, considering we just read that passage. But that's not a human convincing God not to commit genocide. Because nowhere in that fucking passage, you dumbass, does it actually say that Moses turned around to the Lord and said, Lord, don't do it. In fact, there was another passage, okay, where they sin. Balaam basically sends out the daughters, okay, sends out the daughters of, I think it's Edom, and I know it's in Numbers, and I can't remember the exact passage, but basically, Balaam sends out, I'm trying to remember, it was it? Anyway, I'm trying to remember the exact passage. I don't have the passage on me right at the moment. Give me a second to explain, and then I'll grab my my thing. There was another passage. It's a very famous passage where there's an oracle of God named Balaam. Okay, and Balaam goes out. He goes out. He's told by Balak, okay, who is a king of a rival nation. And he tells Balaam, go curse the Israelites. They're huge. I don't want them in my backyard. Balaam gets on his donkey. He goes out there. And the donkey keeps turning around. Okay. He's beating the donkey and turning the donkey around. Like, what are you doing, you damn donkey? The donkey keeps turning around. And finally, the Lord opens the donkey's mouth. And the donkey turns to Balaam and goes, the hell you hitting me for? I'm trying to save your life. He's like, the hell you talking? Like, you're just moving wherever you want. What? He goes, no, you don't seem to understand. And so the Lord opens Balaam's eyes, and there is literally an angel standing in the roadway with a flaming sword ready to strike Balaam dead. And the donkey could see the angel. And the donkey was trying to do the right thing, okay? And then Balaam realized, because he goes, well, why? And he goes, because you're going to curse the Israelites, you idiot. Duh. And he's like, oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. So like 3 times, King Balak tells Balaam, go, curse the Israelites. And he finally tells him, I can't do it, man. Okay, I can't do it. The Lord has told me I cannot curse his chosen people. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't tempt them. We have beautiful women here, right? Yeah, let's offer them up. So they send their beautiful women out amongst the people of Israel, and the people of Israel fall for the temptation, and a plague happens. And Moses is like, what the hell is going on here? And the Lord tells Moses, a plague is on the people because they sinned with the daughters of Peor. Okay? It was Midianites, I believe it was. Because this is the one where Christy Burke had a problem with that, because she was saying that, that they had this plunder and all this other kind of garbage. The point being that during that story with the Israel profanes themselves with the daughters of Peor, is that the people start having a plague among them. Okay, and he said, and the Lord says to Moses, make a serpent head, the head of a serpent. Get a couple of emeralds, make them the eyes. You're gonna stick it in the ground, okay, and then that is basically, you tell the people, look at this, you're gonna live. And they do. The ones that look, the disease leaves them, they live. The ones that don't, they died. Okay? But it wasn't Moses going to the Lord and going, oh Lord, don't destroy the people. No. Moses goes to the Lord and goes, I don't understand what's going on. And the Lord tells him, this is what happened. Do this. So it's not always that story, you absolute freaking moron. Okay? I mean, God, you'd have to be some kind of a dumbass not to understand that. I mean, seriously. Snake? So, numbers 21, 8, and 9. Numbers 21, 8, and 9. Yeah. So this is Numbers 21, starting in verse 4. They traveled from Mount Hor along the route to the Red Sea to go around Edom. But the people grew impatient on the way. They spoke against God and against Moses and said, "Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die out in the desert? There is no bread, there is no water, and we detest this miserable food." Then the Lord sent venomous snakes among them. They bit the people, and many Israelites died. The people came to Moses and said, "We sinned when we spoke against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take the snakes away from us." So Moses prayed for the people. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake and put it on a pole. Anyone who is bitten can look at it and live." So Moses made a bronze snake and put it up on a pole. And when everyone was bitten by a snake and looked at the bronze snake, he lived. So I was a little wrong. I thought this was Balaam, but it turns out it wasn't. That was the vengeance on the Midianites, though. But and that's in chapter 22. Actually, is when Balak summons Balaam, and they're the Moabites and the Midianites. So that's basically it. Okay. And so if you want to read about Balak and about Balaam and that whole thing, it's chapter 22, 23, 24, 25, okay? And then if you go to 31, that's the vengeance that they take on the Midianites. Okay. And so, no, Moses did not always intercede or beg or cajole or remind God what was going on. Okay? This Flying Spaghetti Auditor wants you to think that because he knows you haven't actually read the Bible and you don't know what the Bible says. I'm telling you what the Bible is saying. Okay? Now, again, I was a little bit wrong about the snake and the story of Balaam. Okay? But that still doesn't change the fact that, yes, the people sinned, okay, against the Lord in Numbers 25. So if you go to Numbers 25 with me really fast, okay, we'll hit Numbers 25 really quickly. Just get there. Okay. Because while Israel was staying in Shittim, the men began to indulge in sexual immorality with Moabite women who invited them into the sacrifices to their gods. The people ate and bowed down before those gods, so Israel joined in worshipping the Baal of Peor. And the Lord's anger burned against them. The Lord said to Moses, "Take all the leaders of the people, kill them and expose them in broad daylight before the Lord, so that the Lord's fierce anger may turn away from Israel." So Moses said to Israel's judges, "Each of you must put to death those of your men who have joined in the worship of Baal of Peor." Then an Israelite man brought to his family a Midianite woman right before the eyes of Moses and the whole assembly of Israel while they were weeping at the entrance to the tent of meeting. When Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, saw this, he left the assembly, took a spear in his hand, and followed the Israelite into the tent. He drove the spear through both of them, through the Israelite and into the woman's body. Then the plague against the Israelites was stopped, but those who died in the plague numbered 24,000. And then the Lord said to Moses, "Phinehas, son of Eleazar, son of Aaron, the priest, has turned my anger away from the Israelites, for he was as zealous as I am for my honor among them, so that in my zeal I did not put an end to them. Therefore tell him I am making a covenant of my peace with him. He and his descendants will have a covenant of lasting priesthood, because he was zealous for the honor of his God and made atonement for the Israelites." Okay? And that basically, and then what happened was, a few chapters, about 6 chapters later, in chapter 31, the Lord said to Moses, "Now is the time, go take your vengeance on the Midianites for what they did at Peor." Okay? So, again, Flying Spaghetti Auditor is an idiot. He doesn't seem to understand that Moses wasn't just continually going to God and acting like God's advocate or something, okay? He was following the Lord's directions in a lot of cases, or in some cases, like in the case of the Kohathite rebellion, okay? He said, go. He told Aaron, he said, "Go and grab your censer, put the coals in, put the incense on, and run it before the people to atone for their sin, because the Lord's going to kill them all." And they still killed 14,700 people. Why? Because the Lord was angry with the people for rebelling against him. Okay? Because he had appointed Moses to lead the people. He had appointed Aaron to be the priest. He had appointed these people. And Korah, he knew. He knew. He was a friggin' priest. But he was like, "Who are you that you should be appointed over me? Ha ha ha." He let the power go to his head. Sound like anyone we know? Sound like all those prosperity gospel preachers out there? "Give me money and the Lord will bless you." They're rebelling against God, dude. Think about it. They're doing the exact same thing you're doing, that this guy's doing. They're rebelling against God. Get with the friggin' program.
But this time, it's a human trying to get God's help with a genocide. Now,
no, it's
one
not.
interesting note here is that God never verbally accepts the offer.
Because there wasn't a genocide, there was just a battle. Okay, see this is how he's conflating things. See, the Lord was gonna genocide the people, but then he relented because Moses came in and said, "Don't do that, Lord, okay, don't do that." And this time it was a human wanting to commit genocide on other humans. Get going, Lord, help for genocide. Son, That's not what Jephthah's asking for. He's just asking to win the fucking battle. Are you stupid? Yes, the answer is yes.
But he still holds up his end of the bargain.
Yes,
then
he does.
Jephthah went over to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands.
Yes.
I wonder how God did this exactly. Did he rain hellfire down from the sky on the Ammonite soldiers right before battle began? Or
No.
maybe he tied their shoelaces together when they weren't looking. Either way, Jephthah didn't just win the war. He won only because God rigged it in his favor.
No. No, that's not it, okay? Because again, all throughout the scriptures, when the Lord wasn't with the Israelites, they lost. Oh, I'm sorry, was that supposed to be some mind-blowing revelation? I mean, we literally read where Jonathan was like standing in the gully with his armor bearer, and he's like, okay, here's the deal. If they call us up, or if they say, hang on, we'll come down to you, we'll stay here because we know that they're going to, we know that we're not going to win the battle. Okay? But if they call us up to them, then we'll know that the Lord has given them into our hand. And what did he do? He walked up there, struck down one person, and in that one act, it killed 20 men with one swing. When was the last time you killed 20 men with one blow? Outside of a video game, of course. Because Dynasty Warriors doesn't count, buddy. Okay? Yeah, thought so. Okay, the Lord isn't rigging the game, okay? Like, we rig games nowadays. The Lord isn't rigging the game. The Lord is helping his chosen people reclaim their honor. Because Jephthah was appointed as a judge, which is a very important, it's basically like a king. It's a ruler of Israel, okay? They had one king who was the Lord. The judges were like the people appointed over the people of Israel to oversee day-to-day operations while they were alive. And when the judge would die, Israel wouldn't appoint another judge, but they would fall into the familiar pattern of starting to worship other gods. The Lord would get angry, send some enemies against them. They would get oppressed. They would cry out to the Lord. The Lord would rise up a judge from among them to lead them to victory against that enemy. And then they would live in peace until that judge died. And no, that's not rigging the game. Okay? What the Lord is doing is he's trying to get Israel to understand who he is and what he's about. But Israel doesn't want to listen, son. Just like you. You don't understand. You're just as stiff-necked as all the Israelites we've been reading about.
It kind of reminds me of when God helps certain teams win football games.
Does he? Does he? I mean, I've always wondered this. Okay? Let's say you have two football teams. Okay? And let's say 25 people on one team are Christians, and 25 people on the other team are Christians. And they're both praying before the game. Oh Lord, please help our team win this football game. Who's the Lord going to favor? Probably neither. Because in the grand scheme of things, a football game doesn't mean anything, dumbass. And so yeah, you can play a clip of a man thanking the Lord for helping him win the ball game. Did the Lord actually help him? Maybe. Maybe not. We don't know. Because he doesn't say what the Lord helped him do. Did the Lord help him catch a football at the right time? Or was that his skills of playing football since he was like 5 years old? I mean, think about it. Not everything in life is down to the Lord's intervention. Okay? I mean, there were many, many days in people's lives. We're only given glimpses into people's lives. It's not like Jephthah was given a day-to-day accounting of his life throughout all of Judges 11. We're only given a glimpse into Jephthah's life. Okay? Literally. We're given one glimpse into his life. And in that one moment, he asked the Lord to help him defeat the Ammonites. And it's not the same thing as teams asking the Lord to help them win. Okay? My mom does this all the time. Okay? Literally. She'll sit there and she'll be like, we'll be watching a sporting event, we'll be watching golf. We're watching a tape of a golf match. The golf match is already over. We're watching a tape. And Mom's like, oh, come on, Lord, help him win. And I've already looked and I've already seen that the man hasn't won. Or maybe he did win. But my mom doesn't know that. Okay? Did the Lord help that man win the tournament? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that man is not a Christian. Maybe he doesn't pray to God to help him. What about the other non-Christians on the Vikings who might resent this guy for praying to God and thanking God? It happens. There are a lot of non-Christians on those teams that kind of scoff at the fact that, like, oh man, the Lord help you win? Yeah, right. It was my block. It was my pass. It was my this. It was my that. I ran the interference that helped you get clear so that you could get the ball. That wasn't God. That was me. You see what I'm saying here? Okay? This is an equivocation fallacy. Okay? Where you're conflating two separate incidents. Okay? One involving a sporting event, which, sure, while somewhat violent, isn't a war. Okay? And war, where you pray that you come back alive. Okay? As the thing says, when the bullets start whizzing over your head, there are no atheists in foxholes. Okay? Everyone believes in God at that point. Because I'd like to see your flying spaghetti monster come down and save you from a fucking bullet, bitch. Because I can guarantee you that nobody in a foxhole is praying to the flying spaghetti monster. Okay? Let's do a little bit more.
I ran a route. My QB gave me a great throw. God took care of the rest. He wasn't playing. A guy ran into another guy. I give all the glory to God. I give him the praise on this great Sunday.
He devastated 20 towns from Aroer to the vicinity of Minnith, as far as Abel Kerimim. Thus, Israel subdued Ammon. So not just soldiers. God helped them kill women and children in their homes too. How wholesome.
No, it says he subdued them. I mean... And he struck them from Aroer to the neighborhood of Minnith, 20 cities, and as far as Abel Kerimim, with a great blow. So the Ammonites were subdued before the people of Israel. Where does it say he killed women and children in there? Huh? Can you show me? Point in that passage. Point in that passage, son. Where? Where does it say that? Huh? Come on, show me. Where? Oh, that's right. You can't because it doesn't exist. The only place it exists is in Flying Spaghetti Monster's addled brain. Because the amount of mental gymnastics required to get to this level of cognitive dissonance is staggering. I'm getting a little sick and tired of having to explain to people that subduing does not mean killing. Do you need me to look at it? Because we can. And then we'll call it an episode. Right before we get to the part where his daughter comes out and he goes, "You've ruined me. But how would she know if you didn't tell him what was going on, dumbass? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you would have told her your vow to the Lord. Guess I didn't realize that you were that stupid." $44.04. Moznaim. Am I saying that? No, it's 4044. That's my problem. Never mind. Derp. Don't mind me. I can't read today, apparently. Kana. To be humbled. Be subdued. Be subjected. To subdue. Humble. Subject. Humbled himself. Subdued. Humbled themselves. Humbled yourself. Subdue. Humble himself. Subjected. Were subdued. Are humbled. Where the fuck does it say that they killed him, dude? Hmm? Oh, that's right, it doesn't. Because again, this guy is reading into the text. That is called eisegesis. Okay? And what that means is that he is trying to artificially inject his own worldview into the text. Oh, see? It says that he struck them down with a mighty blow. That means he killed everybody. Ha 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 ha. See, it was genocide. No, it wasn't. Show me where it says that. Show me. Show me where it says he committed genocide of every single town. It was likely that what happened is he went up to battle against them. They fell back to the first town, they fell back to the second town, the third town, the fourth town, the fifth town, the sixth town. They probably fell back. And his army just pursued them from town to town. Okay? Until the army finally gave up and said, "Whoa, dude, sorry, hey, whoa. Cool. Cool it." You don't have to kill everybody to subdue them, dude. That's not subduing. That's genocide. If you kill everyone. But it doesn't say he did. It says he subdued them. Which means to subdue. What the fuck do you want, dude? Again, read the fucking text. It tells you what it is. And this is the problem with people like Flying Spaghetti Auditor, is that they refuse to understand where things are and what things are doing. Okay? And they refuse to actually read the Word of God without injecting their own personal biases and stories and crap into the text. And it has to stop. It's why I'm doing this. Okay? So smash that like button, hit subscribe, drop a comment below, let me know what you think of this series so far. On the next one, we'll continue on. We've got about 4 minutes and 20 seconds left. Next time, I will spend more time letting him talk and less time of me talking. And as we say, we will see you on the next one.